Welcome to Siemens Partner Podcast, Episode 5, a podcast for partners to give some insight and perspective and dive into the world of Siemens. We will be discussing various issues, challenges and gaining insight from our esteemed guests. So let's get going. Today's guest is Simon Keogh, General Manager of the UK and Ireland Factory Automation business. So welcome, Simon, to the Siemens Partner Podcast from sunny Manchester. How are you?
Morning, Mark. Really well, thank you. Not quite as sunny as we'd like it to be, very autumnal, but no, great to be here, and thanks for the invite.
That's absolutely great. So to get things going, I'd like to ask all my guests this question. You're hosting a dinner party for 5 people, and you are one of them. What other 4 people would you invite, either dead or alive, but the only caveat is they must be famous?
Okay, bit of a mix.
Yeah.
Mainly dead, unfortunately, but
right.
As so many great people unfortunately are. But let me start with the one that's definitely alive.
Okay, that's a good start.
So big passion of mine is golf, and I think somebody who was just extraordinary in that field, and what they did for the game, and just for the global ambassador as well, is Tiger Woods. Yeah, without a question of a doubt. Also, I think reaching right back into the past, I think Charles Darwin. Right. He went against the grain, and in terms of his sort of scientific endeavour and understanding of the world and how it all came about, which I think was incredible. Obviously, for a bit of entertainment and a bit of background music, Elvis Presley.
Yes,
again, somebody who absolutely turned music on its head at the time, and I think is probably responsible for a lot of the music that we enjoy and hear today. Yeah. And I think again somebody who absolutely rallied against what was going on at the time in South Africa would be Nelson Mandela. I think he was such an ambassador for human rights and equality, in particular in his home country. But a global icon, I think.
Well, that's a very, very, I would say, intellectual list of some of them, but that's absolutely great, and you've covered quite a few bases there. So
not sure what we'll be serving because, but
cheeseburgers, I suppose.
Exactly.
But so that's great. Okay, so. There's a few areas I wish to cover in the time we have today. And the first one is, today's the first day of the Siemens new financial year. And if we look at the past year, where are we now? And could you provide some commentary on what's gone on and where we are today?
Yeah, well, Happy New Year for starters, and to any other Siemens colleagues out there. Yeah, I mean, maybe we need to look back a little bit further than just 1 year. Yeah. I mean, if we go back 5 years, we almost have to go to 2019 for us to think about a sort of a market that was in normal conditions, whatever they are nowadays. So we really have had kind of 5 years of huge disruption, the type of thing that we've never seen before. Yeah. On top of the normal economic cycles that we see, which have been shortening from potentially sort of 5 years down to 3 years. We then had on top of that, obviously, the pandemic. This was shortly followed by the global sort of supply crises that hit us, and in particular hit the supply of electronic components. It was caused by a huge increase in demand, as a lot of people were then forced out of their normal work conditions to home, and there was a huge demand in terms of electronics. And of course, that had a massive knock-on effect in terms of lead times and also costs. I mean, for instance, in our factory automation business, our lead times, which had been incredibly stable for years and years and years of sort of typically ex-stock from our distribution partners, of course, but 5 to 10 days from Siemens, went out as much as 12 to 18 months. I mean, an incredible time. And I mean, hats off to all of our customers, to our partners for managing that situation. Incredibly difficult, and to all our own people. But, the consequence of this was that in 2022, we had our highest order entry volumes in factory automation and many of the other businesses. In fact, we almost doubled the size of the business in terms of orders.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we couldn't deliver in that same year. But, this was meeting, of course, this huge, a significant increase in demand for automation technology. But also, of course, a lot of customers were forward ordering in order to ensure supply of products to meet future projects. So we had a lot of forward ordering. And ultimately, we delivered these products in 2023. So if we looked at the entire UK automation market, in 2023, it increased by a third. So it's 33% up on where it was in 2022. So, that kind of, and that orders in 22 delivered in 23. When we look at 2024, the year that the calendar year that's not quite finished yet, but our financial year that's finished, the market has very much returned back to a normal size. So sort of, I don't know, the UK marketplace is probably about 150, 160 million pounds in terms of its size. But now what we have is a situation where there is a large amount of excess stock that sits in our partners. I mean, it's been reducing. They've been doing a fantastic job of rotating that, but also in some of the customer base as well. And this is a global situation. So there is a lot of excess stock, and that's slowly washing out. So I think we'll reach normality in 2025, which is where we all want to be. I suspect with the economic conditions at the moment, it will be a little bit flat, a little bit of growth, flat to a little bit of growth, and then we'll return into normal growth levels in maybe 12 months. But I have to say, I mean, I know this is going out to our partners, so just an absolute hats off to the phenomenal job that certainly our distribution partners did. We worked tirelessly with them to ensure that we could maintain that supply of product through to not just some of the critical infrastructure industries, but out to the majority of our customer base. There was huge demands in food and beverage as well. As everybody worked from home, and the impact that all had. So there's been a lot of crises there, Mark. We're just seeking a little bit of normality, I think.
Just on that front, from what I've been told out in the cold face in the field, whatever you want to call it, how impressed our partners, predominantly the solution partners, were with the transparency that Siemens and our distribution partners were when we had problems. We actually told them it wasn't the news they wanted to hear, and it wasn't particularly nice news, but we told them we were very transparent. And the positive feedback I've had from that is that we were one of the best in the marketplace for doing that against our competition, of telling them and adhering to delivery dates that we could actually hit through these times. I mean, that's great to hear, because the amount of work that went on in the background, the sheer size of the global team that our headquarters pulled together to deal with this, the amount of effort in terms of finding alternative suppliers of a lot of our components, the speedy way in which we had to, when certain components were stopped being manufactured globally, the way in which we were able to redesign some products, design certain components out. So there was an enormous amount of work and effort that went into that. And I think also we had some pretty slick prioritization processes in place, so that for critical projects and for projects that could impact
production in any of our customers. We had that ability to prioritize.
Yeah.
Although, having said that, sometimes that was a little bit disruptive to the normal other flows, and so we did see a bit of movement around delivery dates and things.
Yeah.
But absolutely a huge thank you to everybody for their patience.
Yeah.
During that time.
Okay, right. So the next sort of area I wanted to have a discussion about, the DI focus on automation, digitalisation and sustainability. Where does totally integrated automation fit? And having introduced it in 1986, how relevant is it today?
TIA has been a absolutely fantastic vehicle for our digital industries portfolio.
Yeah.
I think the strength of it, is absolutely the foundation of the strength of our operational technology offering.
Yeah.
We're supplying sort of 1 in 3 controllers that go into every factory.
Yeah.
Is a somatic controller, and I think that was really boosted by totally integrated automation. If you think about it, we were focused in on the real challenges that our customers had around cost pressures and how we could make them more efficient. Obviously, that their own products that they were manufacturing had shorter innovation cycles. We were looking to help them in terms of that production improvements and efficiency through improving the quality of production.
Yeah. And
also, of course, the throughput.
Yeah.
And alongside that sort of innovation cycle and the sheer volume of new products that manufacturers are looking to manufacture, then of course flexibility and agility was absolutely critical. So those were the challenges which TIA set about kind of addressing. And we've done it through solutions which have at the heart of them sort of efficient engineering around standardized library concepts, the integration of things like safety diagnostics, cybersecurity into the very core of the standard product. I think we also looked at concepts around modular design. Yeah. So in order to achieve that flexibility, the standardization of hardware, of automation standards, the use of standard interfaces and library concepts. I think that integration of interfaces has enabled that data flow right away. If you remember, it sounds a little bit tired, but it's still as relevant today, that sort of shop floor to boardroom, kind of the flow of data and transparency, the visualization, the insights that can be provided. And I think also, of course, the future proofing. So we have, even from 1986, we have constantly evolved the solutions, not just the hardware, the engineering environment, the visualization, and we've been doing that to really meet the demands of customers throughout that entire time. And I think it's much more than just sort of individual components and products. It's about a total solution that delivers for the customer. So, in short, then, Mark, I appreciate that wasn't a short one, but in short, I think it's more relevant today than it ever has been. And it is right at the very core of what we do.
Okay, so the first part of this podcast absolutely flown by. We'll be back very shortly for part 2 of episode 5. Speak to you soon.